I know it's a ukulele, but that's the only thing I play. I wish I played piano or drums or the didgeridoo, but I only play the ukulele, so that's what I'm gonna do. And this is a little theme song for the Happiness Anonymous Share Show. Hello everybody, how are you today? Welcome to the Happiness Anonymous Share Show. We are in week 2, not 4, 2. We are in week 2 of the Happiness Anonymous Share Show. I'm very, very excited for this week. And I hope that you're doing well. Let's put in some check-ins. Let's shove some check-ins in the comments section. I want to know how you are. How was your weekend? How was your Monday? I know I ended up going into my office, my place of work, in order to stop myself from just staring into space all day and then realizing it was the end of the day. But I'm very, very excited for today's episode. Hello, Aaron. How are you doing? But hello, everybody. Welcome. Today's episode is going to be quite a relaxed episode, quite a chill episode. Every Monday for the last few months, I've been releasing the Happiness Anonymous podcast. Yesterday we recorded it live. Today we're going to go play around with it a little bit. I'm glad, Aaron. I'm glad to see that you've been productive. That is very, very good news, especially since today's episode is all about putting yourself out there. And I hope, Aaron, and anybody else who is watching, if you have been productive, I hope that you're not just keeping all of that productivity to yourself. I hope that you are also putting yourself out there and putting it out there and letting yourself be, yes, a little bit vulnerable, but also giving yourself the opportunity to succeed and giving yourself the opportunity to have people praise you a little bit. And don't let fear reign. Talking of fear reigning. Now, I know that this is the Happiness Anonymous Share Show, but part of happiness is also the harder things in life. And it's also about choosing how you be and how you react to the harder things in life. So all of last week, in all of the shows of last week, I was raising money for Mind charity. And this week I'm changing charity, and I have been looking for a charity to raise funds for. And just as I was starting to think, which one should I raise funds for? Raise funds for. That's a fun sentence to say. I was given a notification on my phone of a post by the wonderful Gish, which is an event that happened a couple of weeks ago, about something they're doing in response to a world event, and it's following on from the work we were doing a couple of weeks ago as part of Gish. And it felt like it was a serendipitous moment for the charity that I'm now going to be raising funds for, and I hope that you will consider giving to. And I wanted to just take a moment before we relax and talk about putting ourselves out there, just to talk about why I wanted to choose this charity, because it's not necessarily linked to happiness, but I think it is linked to other people's happiness, and hopefully we can get them a little bit happier. So if anybody has been watching the news, the situation in Afghanistan has gotten much, much worse very, very quickly. And these people are being left in absolute terror. A terrorist organization is taking over massive, massive land holes and capitals in Afghanistan. And what that means, as much as we like to listen to the rhetoric of the old anti-terrorist movement, is actually it means people are dying. It means women are being erased from society again systematically. Children are being hurt and people are being murdered. And it's not a very happy subject. It's not something that you'd want to feature on a show called Happiness Anonymous, but ultimately when you are in a position of privilege, whether that is happiness, whether that is actual financial privilege, or whatever it is, I tend to try not shy away from this idea of privilege. I tend to try and embrace my privilege because it means that I have some kind of power to try and change the world. And what we can do, just as we can be happy and share that happiness, what we can do is also raise funds to try and help the people who are less fortunate than us. And at the moment, something that's been plaguing my mind has been the situation in Afghanistan. So how does this tie into Gish? As part of that event a couple of weeks ago, there was a Change Your Life campaign, which we usually run, and that was in support of the photographer Giles Dooley's foundation, Legacy of War, and the Legacy of War Foundation. And that was partnering up as well with Emergency, which, there you go, on the screen are all of the Twitter handles for them, so you can go and have a check out and see what good work they do. But Emergency sets up emergency responses to war-torn countries and situations and helps people. And so for this week, I am wanting to raise funds for the Change Our Life campaign and initiative that works with Legacy of War Foundation and the Emergency Foundation, that is setting up hospitals and care centers throughout Afghanistan to help children who are being affected by the Afghan situation. And I hate to use such alluding terms, but I'm not a political commentator. I'm not somebody who can even start to take a stab at understanding what that situation is politically or even in its manifestation, but I can use what my dad so willingly put forward on Friday. Is I can use my empathy, and you can use your empathy as well and think that's not a situation I'd ever want myself or anyone I love to be in, but we can, using our privilege, to help these people. So if you have the means, please feel free to donate. The link is in the bio of this, or it's in my bio on all of my social media, as well as in the description of this video. So please consider donating. Gish and all of the Gishes have managed to rile up an awful lot of funds, but in light of developments, let's try and keep that going. So yes, that is my plea and ask for money. Also, if you are wanting and willing to share your share, do feel free to share it at this, or there is a link for a submission form in the bottom. Also, one day I'm going to get these arms right. PBH Free Fringe, it's on live at Edinburgh, and in Edinburgh right now. If you can and you're safe and you feel well to, go and see a show. But if you don't, and even if you do, but also have a spare moment, there are lots of virtual shows on. So please go have a gander, go have a look at them and support them, because there's a lot of interesting and fun things happening. And I've been so enthralled by being able to take part as well as view things as part of the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. But I don't have to go and pay the rent, and I don't have to go and travel to the other side of the country. I can just enjoy it. So there you go. There is all of your PSA. Those are all your public service announcements. So at 8 minutes and 45 seconds into the show, shall we kick off with a bit of a podcast? Please do consider donating if you're enjoying the show. It is a cause that is very close to my heart, with people very close to my heart as well. And hopefully, little random acts of kindness, we can change the world. And in the meantime, here's a podcast. How do I do it? How do I do it? How do I do it? Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Happiness Anonymous podcast. How are you all today? My name is Jem, and today I'm checking in really, really smushy. I'm checking in really, really touched and moved and exhilarated and inspired. And I'm going to put that all into one word and call it smushy. How are you? For anyone who hasn't been aware, I have been doing the Edinburgh Fringe Festival for the last week as part of PBH Free Fringe. And I've been doing it virtually. I've been doing it online with a show that is very, very dependent and very, very reliant on other people contributing to it and giving their shows. It's called the Happiest Anonymous Share Show. And one day I'll say anonymous with all of its syllables. But the share show was very much a thought of mine to say, let's give everybody a platform to share what they think about happiness and contribute, and also give people the space, time, and place to creatively respond to that idea of happiness. And it's open to anybody to contribute, and anybody who wants to put in a share, just reach out. There are links in all of the descriptions of wherever you are listening to this. But the one thing that I really was nervous about, and this is what this episode is about, is it relies on other people. And also, I thought I would do the virtual Fringe this year as a pre-recorded item and a pre-recorded show, and just have it on YouTube and just promote it whenever I felt like it, and essentially protect myself from this idea that nobody might be watching at any one point. And when you live stream, which is what I've been doing, there is a big count number in the top left-hand side of your screen that tells you how many people are viewing your show at any one time. And that is something that is quite pressurized. And when I realized that that is something that is included in the experience for me of doing this show, I got quite nervous. And that's because here's a show that is reliant on other people contributing and liking your idea. And then here's a show that is actually needing an audience. And that is something that at the Edinburgh Fringe you need anyway, right? You need to go and kidnap yourself an audience. And I'm quite good at doing that. But, you know, the virtual world is a little bit more fickle than that. So I was quite nervous, and I nearly talked myself out of it. But then I decided, you know what, you got to put yourself out there. You've got to go. You've got to go for it. You've got to do it. And that's what last week's episode of this podcast was on about. It was on about, it's very much Shia LaBeoufing its way into saying, do it. Just go and do it. Am I back? Am I back? I don't know if I ever left. If I'm back, somebody throw into the comment section if I am back, because I've just had a big power cut. That just turned everything off, and I frantically come up with a back solution. So throw into the comment section if I'm back. Wow, isn't this fringy? Isn't this fringy? I'm texting people who I think may be watching. Let's see. I don't know. It's saying, oh, I'm back. Thank you, Aaron. Hello, everybody. So sorry about that. That's the amazing beauty of the Fringe Festival, is that even when you're online, you can be affected by. It's not even storming outside. It's not even raining. The lights flickered, and I thought everything was fine, and then everything went down. If I was in an episode of Supernatural, I would be very, very worried. But if you bear with me 1 second, I'm not too sure what you got to in that episode, but I'll restart and I'll replay because that's something that we can definitely do. And welcome to the Happiness Anonymous podcast. How are you all today? My name is Jem, and today I'm checking in really, really smushy. I'm checking in really, really touched and moved and exhilarated and inspired, and I'm going to put that all into one word and call it smushy. How are you? For anyone who hasn't been aware, I have been doing the Edinburgh Fringe Festival for the last week as part of PBH Free Fringe, and I've been doing it virtually. I've been doing it online with a show that is very, very dependent and very, very reliant on other people contributing to it and giving their shows. It's called the Happiest Anonymous Share Show. And one day I'll say anonymous with all of its syllables. But the share show was very much a thought of mine to say, let's give everybody a platform to share what they think about happiness and contribute, and also give people the space, time, and place to creatively respond to that idea of happiness. And it's open to anybody to contribute, and anybody who wants to put in a share, just reach out. There are links in all of the descriptions of wherever you are listening to this. But the one thing that I really was nervous about, and this is what this episode is about, is it relies on other people. And also, I thought I would do the virtual Fringe this year as a pre-recorded item and a pre-recorded show, and just have it on YouTube and just promote it whenever I felt like it, and essentially protect myself from this idea that nobody might be watching at any one point. And when you live stream, which is what I've been doing, there is a big count number in the top left-hand side of your screen that tells you how many people are viewing your show at any one time. And that is something that is quite pressurized. And when I realized that that is something that is included in the experience for me of doing this show, I got quite nervous. And that's because here's a show that is reliant on other people contributing and liking your idea. And then here's a show that is actually needing an audience. And that is something that at the Edinburgh Fringe you need anyway, right? You need to go and kidnap yourself an audience. And I'm quite good at doing that. But, you know, the virtual world is a little bit more fickle than that. So I was quite nervous, and I nearly talked myself out of it. But then I decided, you know what, you got to put yourself out there. You've got to go. You've got to go for it. You've got to do it. And that's what last week's episode of this podcast was on about. It was on about, it's very much Shia LaBeoufing its way into saying, do it. Just go and do it. Just go and do it. And I've very much decided not to be a hypocrite and actively do that. And so this episode forms sort of part of a series or a response to the last episode, because I want to talk about this idea of getting yourself out there and putting yourself out there, and actually how at the end of a week of doing that, you will feel smushy. Because what I expected, my theory, as it were, if you're talking in sort of scientific terms, the thesis I wanted and hoped to disprove was that if I do a show that is reliant on other people's content and is also live, that nobody will be interested in sharing and nobody will watch. Now, I have not gotten hundreds of views. Frankly, I don't think I could cope with that. But I have gotten views, and I have gotten so many shares that I'm so excited to share them with everybody. And I'm having to reschedule and look at my schedule to try and make sure that everything that everybody has put time into has a place and a space within the show. And I'm so lucky to be able to have that problem. And yeah, I'm very taken by the amount of effort that people have put in. You know, I thought people might just say, fine, I'll just rant into a camera for 30 seconds, 45 seconds, and that will be it. Good luck, Jem. But no, I've discovered that if you do and follow the advice of my last podcast, then you can be very, very surprised by the outcome and very touched by the outcome. And even if it's just a handful of people who are interacting with you daily, which, hello, everybody who's been watching the show daily, that has been incredibly impactful for me personally, and I really want to thank you for that. But one of the other things that I did for the show as well was I practiced what I preached in the last episode and went, okay, well, what is one of the things that I've wanted to do for a very long time, but I've never done, and ultimately I've just been putting things in my own way. And that's this idea of making music. I'm not a musician. I have very little musicality, quite a lot when it comes to dancing, but I think that's just response. That's not creation. But I've always had these secret fantasy dreams of being Stevie Nicks, whether that's just the fashion or the rock lifestyle. I don't know, but I've always wanted to, sing. And yeah, so I decided, you know what is actually stopping you? Because we have technology that means that we can actually create tracks without being a musician. And I did. And I created a song, and I wrote my first song that wasn't just a little tune on a ukulele played badly, or a little jokey song, or something that was relegated to the pits of a notebook. And I made the song, and I put it out there, and it made me so nervous and so uncomfortable, but in an exhilarating way, that was exciting to begin with. But then I got people turning around and saying, it's not something that's like the quality of someone who's been doing this for years, but that's good. And I got a positive response. And frankly, any of the negative responses, I didn't really pay attention to. They didn't matter, because at least one person turned around and said, that was good. That was, I enjoyed that. And it really was empowering. It really was emotionally impactful and a massive confidence boost. And, a reminder that you don't have to be scared. You don't have to be worried all the time about what people are going to think about you. Because even if it hadn't had a really good response, even if it was a piece of crap, which frankly it could be, and frankly future things might be, just because the thing that I want to also include is that whether people had liked it or not, I wouldn't have cared, because I was so proud that I'd done it. I'd done it. I had written a song. I'd done the thing that I'd wanted to do for years. And I enjoyed doing it. I loved doing it. I had so much fun. And so this is kind of a response to the last episode in saying, I'm not just going to sit there and preach at you and say, hey, do it, do it, do it, do it. Or, you know, I very much practice what I preach. I very much listen back to these podcasts and say, okay, well, how can I apply that as if this was being said to me by a third party? Which a lot of it is, by the way. A lot of it I hear and get from the ether and then share to you, and then it forms this wonderful little cycle of improvement and active doing. And I did. And if any of you are sat there last week and thought, yeah, but this reason and that reason and this reason and that reason, and or just sort of went, well, I am scared, and that's totally fine. I'm going to encourage you to try and do it again, because even if that thing never gets to see the light of day, you will know that you've gone and crossed something off your bucket list. It will be a point of pride, no matter its quality, no matter its outcome. And it's kind of like a few years ago, I ran a blog. I started when I was at university, and every week I published something. And I realized the power of publishing, and I preach it to absolutely every creative and absolutely everybody that I know, is this idea of regularly publishing something, regularly completing something, regularly doing something is so absolutely empowering, because it's a reminder of your ability and your capability and your impact. And it just feels good to finish something and do something. And so even if you don't go and publish it to the world, because whatever it is that you're wanting to do doesn't have to be on a public stage. I think we often forget with social media that our lives don't have to be out there. And I know I very much am against this idea of putting absolutely every part of your life on the internet, though I see how it exhilarates and works for other people. But for me, this idea that you can do something and create something, or whatever it is that you wanted to do, that thing that came to your mind during last week's episode, that thing that comes to your mind now, is I say, what is the one thing that you've always wanted to do but have never done? If you haven't watched or listened to the last episode, I encourage you to go, because I gave tips on how to really dig deep into and find the reason why something hasn't been done, or why you haven't moved that thing from the to-do list over to the done list. But I can thoroughly recommend doing it and getting it done, because the pride that you will have of yourself and in yourself is immense. And I'm somebody who very much chases the pride of other people and the acceptance of other people. I'm working on it, but I'm a people pleaser, and I want other people, especially the people I love, to be proud of me. But I can tell you now, every time that somebody has been proud of me, it ain't got nothing on the pride I feel for myself right now, because I made a 3-minute song out of loops of music I found on the internet, wrote some lyrics, sang it into this microphone that I'm speaking into now, and made a song. And that's mine. That's mine forevermore. So if you want to hear that song, Friday's episode of the Happiness Anonymous Share Show included it at the end, which made me so nervous. But it's on the internet now, because that is part of my process, and that's part of my happiness, I guess, is making content for all of you guys. I refer you to the Bo Burnham song content. But thank you everybody for listening. I this is kind of a check-in. It's a long check-in about this idea, and it's hopefully something that means that you will continue to be inspired. And once you've done the one thing, move on to the next. Do the next thing and just have fun doing it. And put yourself out there, because if your fear is acceptance, there's a lot more acceptance in the world than you think. And there are unexpected people waiting around the corner to celebrate you and to celebrate what you can do. And yeah, share it with me. I really, really want to see what you do, and I want to see what is that close to you. And I'll continue to do the same. So thank you everybody for listening. Have an amazing week. This is just your friendly reminder that I am not a professional. I am just a girl on a mission trying to figure out this thing we call happiness. If you do need help or want someone to talk to, reach out to the heroes listed in the description of this podcast. Hello again, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that. Again, that podcast is also available on anywhere you get your podcasts. Thank you to Anchor FM. So if anybody wants to start their own podcast, I'd recommend Anchor FM. Not sponsored by them whatsoever. I just like to share things that help me do what I like doing. Because sharing is caring. On Sharing is Caring, again, the reminder of the wonderful things we are now raising money for, which are Emergency and Legacy of War, thanks to Giles Dooley. Do look up his story as well if you want something that's quite inspiring. But thank you, everybody, for joining me tonight. Apologies for halfway through just having a moment where I thought, oh, if I was in an episode of the TV show Supernatural, I'd be dead by now because the lights flickered, the screen flickered. If you're a fan of Supernatural, you know that means bad stuff's about to happen. And then I thought I'd gotten away with it because it just looked like, oh, okay, weird. And then, sorry, no internet. So it's live. We know it's live now. And it's quite fun to burst out of your office come studio to see a bamboozled other half staring at you like, didn't you just start a broadcast? What's going on? And me go, the internet, what's happening? Did the lights flicker for you too? So yes, hopefully I'm not about to be in the middle of a horror story and have ghosts or demons or anything else funky and bad come at me this evening. And hopefully whatever the hell is causing the electrical shortages in this house, hopefully that stops. Yeah. But thank you everybody who's been watching. Thank you everybody. Tomorrow I have a day off, so go and watch some other. One day. Go and watch some PBH free Fringe shows. If you're in Edinburgh, they're there. If you're not, there are so many virtual shows. It's amazing. I might just do a load of sharing and posting of the things that I know are good and that I've seen already and that are fantastic. And yeah, they're just so good. There are so many good things, and I'm so happy that the PBH can share that. So yeah, it's 8:30, give or take. This was meant to be a short episode, but thank you for the internet and the electricity and whatever funky ghosts are out there that love this show so much it wanted me to do it double time. But thank you everybody. Have a great evening, and I will see you on Wednesday. I'll also be dropping all of the details of the rest of the program because who likes a mystery? I do, but loads of things are going to be dropping in the next 24 hours. You think I'm having a day off? It's just a day off just means I do more work. But that's my thing. I hope you guys have a great evening and a great day tomorrow. Keep happy, make good choices, and go put